Welcome to Centaur Financial Services podcast. The information provided on and made available through this video and podcast does not constitute as financial product advice. The information is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice. We recommend that you obtain your own independent professional advice before making any decision in relation to your particular requirements or circumstances.
Hi everyone, welcome to our podcast. This is number 4 that we're doing in our retirement series. Today we're talking about downsizing, investing or staying put. This is something that's probably coming up a lot in conversations with clients around what we're doing with our housing. For some of you clients around retirement, you still have the kids at home, so we can't yet get out and downsize, but for the majority of our clients, we're at a position where we're looking at do we go from that 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house to something smaller? And today we just want to capture what are the rules around that, some of the tips and traps, and how we can really get there to help you make a more informed decision if that is something that you want to do. It's something that's really great that has been in for a few years now. There was a financial advisor that actually got the downsizer into government, into regulation, but what we've seen probably in a lot of conversations, clients are just a bit unaware. So, hello Anthony, hello Nick, how are you guys?
We will, thank you.
Always good to talk about these fun topics. So, let's get into it. So, staying put, let's talk about the pros and cons of that. I'll probably start there. Thinking when you're in the family home, it's very familiar, you've got no moving costs. Remember, when you're going to sell a house, you're going to have to pay your agent fees. And then when you buy somewhere else, you're going to have to pay stamp duty. So there's a bit of a turnover there. So if you are factoring in selling a property, you're not going to net necessarily what you think you are. And there's also the emotional attachment of a house that we're in, that's where the family grew up. So we've always got to pay homage to that and really the respect that deserves if we are going to, look to change houses. But there's a big reason why people do stay at home for that. And for a lot of our clients, you guys still hold your big house just for Christmases when the family can come over. Yep. The downsides, obviously, though, in holding a big house that you don't need is it's really maintenance. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of work to do around a house. The bigger the house, the more the clutter. Your rates are higher if the house is more expensive than what you're going to go to. And it can be an inefficient use of the equity that we've got in the home. Yep. Whereas if you have a big house, that's worth, say, 2 or 3 million, which seems like a ridiculous number, but nowadays that's kind of like a normal number. Mm-hmm. There might be 400, 500, 600,000 or more that you could downsize and potentially access that capital and use that for an income stream, more so than probably accessing equity via a reverse mortgage or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a quick pros and cons. And probably looking at some of the clients that have gone through modifying their homes, that's been something we've seen more of them doing. We've seen a few that have gone from living in the main house, building a granny flat, and kids come in. Mm-hmm. But again, those are kind of case by case. We're not seeing a lot, so we won't touch on that and granny flat provisions. But if anyone's listening and thinking about that, maybe reach out to us and we can go through that, through your specific personal situation on there. So, Anne, take it away. Tell us about downsizing.
Look, some of the benefits of downsizing, obviously to Hugh's point, just downsizing firstly is whether or not you sell your $3 million home based on one size, to move into some retirement living, your unit closer to the beach, or just where you want to live. And I guess some of the financial advantages that do come from that is obviously, as Hugh mentioned there, the realisation of that capital that you can then utilise for what's next. But importantly, it's also the reduction in ongoing maintenance costs, and a few other things that you can really then utilise for your retirement planning. Some of the things you need to absolutely be aware of on the disadvantage side is the stamp duty, the fees, the lawyers' fees, those things that come into fruition as a result of making a decision like this. And unfortunately, some of those expenses can get as high as $150,000 and over. So you really do need to go through that process of what that could look like for you, so you can then make that right decision considering your circumstances and what you need to be doing there. Probably the other thing in terms of what's next, and Nick, I'll throw this to you, is the ability to utilise these funds and how you utilise those funds is an important decision. One of those is obviously potentially using property. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, so using property as an investment?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So it's great because it doesn't fluctuate as much as share markets. And I think that's a very timely thing to consider at the moment is, one, when you're considering property as
None
an
of our
investment.
clients go and look at the share market.
No, that's
We've
true.
told them enough
That's
that
true.
don't look at it.
Yeah.
Haven't received one call over the last month,
Yeah.
which has been great. Property as an investment in retirement, it's got to make sense, right? Because holding a property also comes with a lot of sunken costs within there. Predominantly, whether you're holding debt or not holding debt's obviously a big cost that comes into it. But you need to understand what the purpose of the asset is at the end of the day, particularly when we're talking retirement. We've only got one source of income, which is mostly passive assets, hence the term retirement. You're not working. So it's got to have enough income coming in, being generated to make viable sense of it. Predominantly when we're property investors outside of that retirement piece, yes, the income's great, but it's more so a capital growth play.
Right.
Whereas when we're in retirement, do we have a time frame to be waiting for this capital growth to come through? Or are there alternative assets where we've got more liquidity, where we can draw down on the capital to live the desirable lifestyle? So as Australians, we're addicted to property. It's something that's a part of our DNA, and property prices reflect that. However, it's got to be the right asset for the right person. If the property is not generating sufficient income for you to achieve your retirement lifestyle and you're holding on for future capital growth, you've got to ask the question whether it's actually the right asset for you at the right time.
Well, and I think it's also maybe a little bit of a political football right now with housing affordability issues. Are they going to take away, deductibility of interest? Are they going to bring in more taxes? We've got these big deficits now, and you've got to figure out a way to plug that hole, and to make it more affordable for the next generation to be able to get into housing, because they just can't build it fast enough. And I think there's also the case to argue that a lot of the gain, the next 10 years might not have the same capital growth profile as the last 10 years.
Yeah.
A lot of that growth has kind of happened based off really low interest rates. So that's going to be interesting. Watch this space moment for us. I know the other alternative is that the property spruikers come out and say, well, the Olympic Games is coming up, so, property is going to double in value.
Yes.
We'll see about that. So the other option then is around renting in retirement. So another idea that we've seen when people are trying to release that equity from the house, they say, well, hey, what if we just rent? As an idea, if you can have that emotional detachment and not have to have a house. So the cons of it are, it's not yours.
Yeah.
Can you put your picture frames up? You might be asked to leave. Some of those things, that's not really a great way to run through your retirement. But if you wanted that capital and you wanted that equity to be able to use as an income stream, you can possibly do it.
Yeah.
It is a doable thing. If you're entitled to some form of age pension, you could get rent assistance as well. There's different numbers in the assets and income test between a homeowner and a non-homeowner. So there's some things to take into consideration there. The big challenge though is then you are paying rent, which is going through the roof.
Yes.
So that is something that is my real big draw card. But you're not paying rates, you're not paying your insurances, but rent is a big digit nowadays. So I think in terms of renting, is it a viable option? It's certainly not a preferred option, but it is a option in terms of what we've seen. But again, what we're doing is, if you are doing that and you're using your equity, you're trying to get a better return on the investment than what you are from the rent paid. So there is a calculation. We can get our spreadsheets out, which we love playing with. We can get them out and do the numbers. But we've just got to really factor that in, because rents will go up over time. So speaking on that, touching on home ownership, age pension?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's probably other implication in regards to downsizing is that realization of capital and what it then does to your age pension eligibility. You know, if you have $1 million home and you sell it for 700,000 to buy your retirement living home, you've now got $300,000 of funds that are now accessible when we think about means testing. Because as it works currently, if you own your own home, you are a homeowner and have that homeowner status. And by realising that additional capital, then that becomes free. And then now Centrelink is going to look at that and deem that or test it upon you for your age pension benefits. So there's probably a couple things that you should or could consider in regards to that. There's one is the downsizer contribution to superannuation. How that one works firstly is if you did downsize your home, you had to have owned that home for more than 10 years, be over the age of 55, and then after the fact or contract that you've got to make the contribution within 90 days. So should I say settlement? You make that contribution after settlement within 90 days. Now, the benefit of utilising that is then you can start that income stream. There are some certain benefits when it comes to Centrelink eligibility from there. Importantly, there's some other couple products underneath this superannuation umbrella you can also could consider, such as annuities, and I would highly recommend and implore you discuss that with your advisor so you can get a little bit more information on those to see whether or not it's the right strategy for you or not. Probably the other thing to note in regards to that is that time frame on the 90 days, you could potentially get an extension on that too, based on certain implications that you may have. You know, whether the timing of the sale didn't work out right, the purchase isn't quite there yet, and you can go directly to the ATO to determine what that could look like for you. And again, having that chat with your advisor, that can assist you along the way for those two.
So as a quick number, I suppose, for clients to kind of conceptualize is, say, husband and wife, they're 63 years old, they've been in the house more than 10 years, they sell it for 2.3 million and they're going to buy another house for $1 million. A beautiful unit somewhere. How much of that can they get into superannuation utilising non-concessional bring forwards, utilising downsizing?
I was actually looking at this the other day. Effectively, on those numbers, you can get that whole portion into super with some clever planning, right? So if you break that out, you've got two members of the couple utilising a downsizer contribution each. So that's 300,000 each. Say we want to get some money into superannuation outside of the downsizer contributions, and assuming that couple is under the age of 75, we can then utilise non-concessional contributions. Splitting that over 2 financial years, it might be 120,000 this side of July, and then utilising bring forward contributions on the other side of July, so 360,000 each. That's over $1.5 million that we can get into that superannuation tax-free environment. So let's call 1.5 million, a modest 5% return on that is 75,000 a year of tax-free income. Just by downsizing.
So are my numbers correct when I say 1.56 million?
Correct.
They could get in?
Yeah.
So really by utilising superannuation and understanding the rules and the timing could make a massive difference, because that then could go into superannuation and then into pension, tax-free income, no tax on personal income, no tax within the super fund, no tax on the growth of it, and you're living your best life.
Absolutely.
So that's a pretty good outcome by knowing the tips and traps around how to navigate this downsizer. So for me, recapping the options for the people out there when we're looking at, you know, the downsizer, what are we going to do with our property? You can stay put, but again, maybe it's a reverse mortgage, not ideal. We've seen a couple of examples of that where it becomes quite a lot more expensive than people initially thought or planned to be. There's investing, so there's, you know, selling, renting, and investing. Again, that's an option. Or downsizing from the bigger house to the smaller house, still being the homeowner. But again, these things are going to factor in not just the financial side, but also the lifestyle side. You know, so we've got to be really cognizant of that, and don't do anything just for money, because then that's not the key to happiness. We've got to balance it out between the lifestyle and what our needs, wants, requirements are.
Yes.
Nick, your takeaways?
My takeaway would be, when considering what to do with the properties, whether it's downsizing, whether it's utilising investment property, lead by lifestyle, like you say, but it actually has to make financial sense. So we need to consider all of those sunken costs. The stamp duty, the moving costs, when we're on the rental side, making sure that we're factoring in the other property costs such as rates, insurances, etc., to really make sure that we're reaching the goal. It's got to be led by the goal. What's the income we need? Do we have the money to facilitate that? Are we actually making money out of this downsize transaction?
I suppose making sure they're talking to us
To
go through it before you make that decision.
Yep.
You know, make sure you're talking to us, because those little things there that you were just talking about are things that we're going to think about that you might not necessarily think about.
Yeah.
So, and
I'd agree entirely. I think you could also even speak in terms of your future mobility, or even the now. You can talk to OTs or occupational therapists in terms you want to stay put. What does that look like? What do you need? And obviously, importantly, what does that look like moving forward? Seeking advice from your accountant as well, because this could sometimes include investment property sales. So having a look at those as well. So definitely the overarching theme there is seeking advice. We can sort you out with the right professionals to speak with as well. So talk to your advisor and we can point you in the right direction.
Not bad advice.
Perfect.
So, all right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to that today. We're trying to keep it short, sharp, to the point. Please give your feedback if there's stuff you want to talk about. I know Anthony mentioned annuities today. I think that should be something that, again, we touch base on. Annuities are different to what everyone thinks annuities are. They're different now. So let's have a conversation around that. Anything else you want to talk to us about, please reach out. This stuff is all for you. And we're going based off the conversations we're having with our clients on a daily basis. Other key points for us, whether you're downsizing, investing, or staying put, we all know this, having a clear strategy is going to be the key, the difference in maintaining your financial security, the lifestyle flexibility, and probably more important than anything, having that confidence and clarity. We don't want you to get to retirement and be exhausted and not living your best life. We really want you to enjoy it and have a great time in retirement. And I think another thing that we're worried about, clients are worried about this FOMO, fear of running out of money. And that's coming another thing with the current market volatility. People are worried. Come and talk to us about it. We've been down this road 100 times before. We kind of know how it ends, so we can help there. Nick, what's happening next?
Next, we'll continue on this retirement podcast journey. The next one's regarding the golden years and making the most out of it.
Yes.
We'll highlight a few very important points. Anything you wanted to add to that?
No, it was sensational. I think we've had really good feedback. Keep sharing it. And we look forward to catching up with you next time.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.